G'day guys, it's Ninja here, got Scotty. So we want to talk about our year. So we had a physical challenge that we put out to the whole business this year. So wanted to get double your body weight for a deadlift, 1.5 times for a squat, do 20 pull-ups, 50 push-ups, and get through a whole sprint session.
Yeah.
So last week was the week we did it. That was our culmination, our Christmas party, our celebration of MMT for the year 2022. So physical activity is not your pet event. Scotty is our meditation, stillness, mindfulness guy. So and we're very physical. So we kind of taught each other a lot about, and taught us about being still and being mindful, and we taught him about being physical and doing all that stuff. So it was a real challenge for you to go to do this challenge and to be physical, and it's a challenge for us to be more mindful and still. So I'm going to give Scotty a bit of a neck treatment because he's got a bung neck. It's reoccurring, so I'm going to fix it today, but I'm going to hear about how you went about the year of training and what it means to you to train and what's going on now. So just talk about that. So jump in.
For sure.
So how did you go about how did you feel when you put the challenge out for a start?
Well, I think that's the big one. That was the big one for me in some ways. Well, there's a few big ones in it, but I started here last year in 2021, and so I think I was here for about a year before the challenge was announced.
Yeah.
And I'd done a little bit of training, but I'm not someone who was training regularly at all in any way before I started here. And I dipped in and I dipped out, and I hadn't been consistent at all. And then when we had the meeting here in this room on a Wednesday morning, and you guys announced it, I remember just going like, oh shit. Like, I was looking around the room and I was like, I can see maybe one or two other people who might struggle with this as much as me. But for the most part, this is a business where all the practitioners are training regularly, and I'm not, and I'm in strive. And the way that you guys did it, by instead of just saying, we want you to train, we want you to do this, it's like you put that target up against us and gave us, this was given like early on in the year, so it's like 9 months to go to it. Over the next couple of days, I was like thinking, I was like, oh shit, I guess I've just got to start training. And so then that's what got me into it, and I started doing Lift Club pretty regularly within the next few weeks, and then pretty soon after that is when I started doing Fridays in Ferntree Gully with you and Aaron, and so started doing sprints. And so it was amazing to watch in my mind how the minute I had this thing looming where I was going to have to lift and sprint with the whole team in December, my motivation sort of shifted, and then I started to find this connection with it and got to work. So that was definitely like a big moment for me as we got into it. But as we've talked about, one of the big things for me this year is like I've had a big year in terms of work. I'm at MMT a lot less than I was earlier, and I've sort of changed and moving into, I guess, a bit more of a leadership role at another organisation that I'm working at. And
tell us who it is. It's Mind Medicine Australia.
That's right.
So what do they do?
So I'm at an organisation called My Medicine Australia. We're an advocacy organisation for the medical use of psychedelics, aiming to treat mental illness and get better results than are currently available with the current mental health system. So if anyone's interested, mymedicineaustralia.org.au, check us out. And over the course of this year, it sort of was almost as I started training regularly, I feel like it was when a lot of these other changes really started happening in my life and in my work life in particular. And while I can't exactly explain it, it does feel like there's been almost a bit of a connection for me between as I've learned to build this like strength in my body and started to strengthen my body and learnt to rely on that. It's given me that same confidence in myself to be able to, that's it in there. Hey.
On the button.
To have that confidence to sort of start standing by the decisions that I make a little bit more, and rather than maybe being a little bit more quiet and reserved, to sort of like step up and be more confident. And I definitely do feel this connection there between the two. And the more that I keep training and building this sort of strength and reliability and resilience, I feel that it's kind of been like carrying over. And I guess that's been a really interesting thing for me because I've done spent a lot of time like meditating and a lot of things on mindset. But when I definitely started here, I had a bit of this thing of like, I do meditation and I like working on all this mental stuff. Like, I like training, that's cool, but like I do this other stuff and that works for me.
Yeah.
And realizing as I incorporated some of this, and I suppose it's creating more balance, you know, as Ninja said. I have spent a lot of time working how to be like in stillness and a lot of mindfulness and mindset sort of things, but at the end of the day, my body wasn't in balance. I didn't have that balance in terms of being able to be dynamic and reliable and strong. And as I've cultivated that, I'm really feeling that flow on into the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so that's been a really big thing for me this year as I've kind of like learned that.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, it all kind of culminated last week in the testing days, which were just epic.
Yeah.
They were sick. Like, I feel like anyone who watches this channel can kind of see it, but we're really lucky that we get to be a part of it, you know, day in, day out. The MMT vibe, as I sort of said, it's like the thing that I love so much about MMT is like everyone is pushing, driving to be the best version of themselves, and there's competitiveness as well.
Yeah.
But the competitiveness is really healthy competition,
Yeah.
and everyone is always really supportive of each other. You know, it's like we might push and we might, and when I say we, I feel like I'm probably not as in the competitive side so much as I'm like catching up and learning, but like people are pushing and wanting to like be the best they can and beat each other, but it's always celebrating, you know, even if when someone might get beaten, they'll still straight away be congratulating everyone else.
The effort.
And it's like this really supportive, but also competitive and driving to be the best that everyone can be energy is what, for me, is one of the things that really makes MMT so great. Oh, you're right in there.
Yeah.
And that vibe was the strongest it's ever been last week on both of those sessions.
Yeah.
That lift session was sick. You know,
Yeah.
everyone's just like lifting heavy. I think almost everybody got a new PB in at least one of the events we did.
Yeah.
And then as well, so in some ways even more so with the sprints when we got to the end of it and seeing some of the people who haven't trained as much really just digging really deep to get through that last jud. Amazing to see, you know, everyone got it across the line.
Yeah.
Everyone did it together and it was sick. It was amazing. And that's the stuff that makes MMT so special. For me at least.
Yeah. Good. Who we got here? Darcy.
Sorry to interrupt you guys.
He's got a drive. Look at this.
How's the service?
Look at that. Enjoy.
Thanks, mate.
Keep going. So one of the things that if you can we'll go back a little bit, was talking about how the strength that you put into your body through the training. You kind of said something changed in like your posture, which kind of transferred into your confidence when you had to go into some stuff where there was confrontation and stuff when you were doing work. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Transference, or
yeah.
How do you put it?
Definitely. Like it's one I don't know if I can entirely put my finger on it, but I do feel it's like my body's changed a lot, my posture's changed. I've put on like 10 kilos this year, you know. There's probably a bit of fat in there, but I definitely feel like there's a decent amount of it that is it's muscle, and it's not beach muscles, you know. It's the deep musculature, it's the stuff that sits along the spine and deep and creates support. And it's like a big part of the skills that I'm learning this year is about confrontation is one way of putting it, but I think it's also about being able to have difficult conversations, put different ideas, you know, bring different ideas together and let them kind of clash and grind up against each other to let the better ones come through, you know. And rather than, I think in the past sometimes I've had a tendency to almost just sort of like, I don't know, for the discomfort maybe of being worried about upsetting somebody to not want to challenge ideas even if they're bad, to just bit by bit learning to stand up for things that I feel are good, are going to be beneficial, whether it's for whoever that's for, whether it's for myself or for the organisation or for specific people, and to not be afraid, you know, and to like step in and stand for it. And it's like, yeah, it's a funny one, but that just developing that ability to like literally stand up with a bunch of weight, you know, it's like in a very literal thing. It's kind of like to carry, like learning to carry that load in a physical way it feels to me is really kind of instrumental in being able to like, like I suppose there's a very literal thing in terms of carrying a load, as I'm carrying more responsibility than I have before in my life. But then also one in terms of like, it's like standing up with it, and it's like standing up for ideas, you know, and I think that's kind of the center of it. It's like in a lot of ways I think I've in the past would not stand up for the ideas that I have, even if I think they're really good, because of like an issue, whether it's confrontation or conflict, and going like, no, these ideas are good and they're worth fighting for. Fighting's a strong word, you know. It's usually not actually fighting. It's usually just it's more like sort of debate and discussion. But of allowing, you know, of really making sure that what I see and feel and believe is heard. So I think that's sort of what it feels like to me, certainly at this point.
It's like when you got another way it might be diverse views, diverse experiences and values and things like that. When they come together, you kind of want to understand other people's views and why they have them, but you kind of have that, you want to be understood as well. And like that's the word understood. Your feet understand. And so it's like when you stand up in the deadlift and the squat, there's that parallel there too, that metaphor of standing up and being understood. You know, is a really important thing. So why you have this belief and why you think it's beneficial to kind of have that kind of concept or that part involved with your business or your you know, or the system, you know, to make it work better. So contribution. So it's really interesting, man.
So it's been cool. It's been like as I mentioned, like this has been a really big year for me in a number of ways, and it's been really interesting to see how it definitely just does feel that making that commitment. And so thank you, Ninj, to you and Aaron, whichever one of the two of you it was that decided to throw that curveball at all.
It's all me. I'll cop it.
Well, thanks, brother.
It's alright.
Because it's like without that one, I don't know that I would have, you know, bought in and committed.
Could have got out of it.
That's what I was doing up until then. I was like, I was just avoiding it.
If you keep on avoiding things, you get good at avoidance.
That's right.
It's like you are what you repeatedly do. So if you do strength work consistently, you get strong. So that's the thing. Scotty's a strong man now, and body's an instrument, not an ornament. I'm kind of say as well. So it's Scotty can perform. He can do things that he couldn't do before, and it just shows that your body will adapt. It will get better if you kind of continually challenge it, stimulate it. It will adapt to that stimulus and those loads, and you can bear more loads because your nervous system, your musculature, your tendons are all kind of know what to do. They know what postures to get into, what positions to get into, and be able to perform, get everything aligned, the body and mind are lined up. Tell us a little bit about sprinting as well for you. What's that mean, and how did you perform?
That's a great question. I remember with the first couple of sprint classes, I almost vomited over the fence at the end of it.
Pretty rough on your old system, wasn't it? Was it conditioned to that?
No, I remember having to sit in the car for 15 or 20 minutes because I didn't think I'd be able to drive the car home without crashing it.
It's pretty intense.
But I feel like again, I think it's been a similar thing of really learning to trust in my body. But maybe with sprints, as I think about it now, I feel like a big part of it it's that learning that I can do things, you know, even when it feels when it feels impossible.
Yep.
And I've learned that lesson in various different ways before. That's sort of, especially with some of the meditation practice that I have that has a focus on some similar ideas. But maybe there's a difference to it when instead of just learning to sit with the discomfort, but actually push through physically. Because especially we do sprints Friday hours, and there's been a few times, I remember one in particular where I had an absolutely grueling week with some really challenging stuff that had come up at work, and we just had this like massive sprint session, and then at the end of it, it's kind of weird, we fell into that big group hug, which was pretty random, and then I had a bit of a cry afterwards, and some sort of emotional release that came through from it. And there's been a few of those, a few recently as well, even as we were ramping up the volume coming up to the end of year thing, and where I sort of really felt for the whole session I was pretty quiet, getting pretty focused. I was like, I'm just going to get through this, because I was having pretty busy weeks at work and a bit low on the energy, but the targets are set, and getting through each one and getting to the end of them, and like I'm not in our group, I'm the slowest sprinter, and I'm okay with that, but it's not about that at all. It's sort of about just like bit by bit, just chipping away at it, getting fitter, getting better, feeling those biomechanics, feeling more of my body coming back online, and yeah, learning increasingly that even that in the physical world as well, I suppose, because in a lot of ways I've experienced, I think I've cracked this mentally of like learning how to push through barriers, but doing it physically, there's a different quality to it, and there's additional benefits that I'm finding as I kind of like learn how to just like, sit in that discomfort and grind it out when we're doing those fucking juds at the end of the sessions.
Yeah. Yeah, when that group hug thing, I remember that now. Like it was a spontaneous thing. I think it was one of your first sessions, but you probably thought it was not what we do every time. But
that was with Maddie on that one. I remember Maddie was in there. He's like, "Do we do this all the time?"
Yeah, no, it's not. It was just that I felt this thing, and I just wanted to pull everyone together and just sort of celebrate with a big all-in hug. And yeah, do you remember what was going on, or
like at the time?
Yeah, at the time.
I do. Yeah, we had a couple of really big challenging things that came up at my medicine that week.
Yeah.
And then I'd just been in Sydney for a couple of days for a couple of events, and so I had a lot of stuff some tricky things to negotiate. So I was pretty tired and worn out. And so that was kind of, that was all that was happening there. So I remember that week I was just like, I'd been just like wanting to get to the end of it so bad. And then it was like the last bit of it was just to get through that sprint session. Yeah. And I was like super low energy, super tired, but got to the end and just had that sort of emotional release. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I just sort of sensed it but you just can't beat human connection and like with the sprints for me, like I feel like it is a spiritual experience. It's like body and mind all sync up. So it's synchronicity, it's everything is into yourself. Like you're there as one with nature and the planet. Like we're barefoot, we're in the sun, the clean air, all that kind of stuff. We've got that community of people that are doing the same thing, common unity. We're all trying to run as fast as we can, and like when you are actually taking off really well, your whole body syncs up. You can feel this power going through your body, and then top speed stuff. There's this. It's like you don't touch the ground in a way. It's like you get to the end of your race, and it's like how did I do that? How did I get there? It's like a bliss kind of moment, and you can't get there just doing a one-off sprint. It happens once you've done that repeated religious once a week kind of trying your best to improve. It just happens over time. So I really get this real sense of joy and bliss out of sprinting. Yeah, it's just one of those things that you don't need any money, you just need one other person. And we have done a couple of sprints by me and Scotty. And you just sort of draw something out of yourself that is this primal, guttural, raw kind of thing, and it's so simple, pure and simple, but it is so beneficial for you, body, mind, and spirit. So yeah, sprinting, get into it, but do it regularly, build up, get faster and faster and longer with your sprints over time, and you'll understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's it. I feel like it's definitely it's one where just building it up, because sprinting, if you haven't done it in a long time, it feels like shit.
Definitely.
You just feel real rusty and you can't kind of move properly, and like that was definitely a lot of it for me this year. And I remember after maybe it was like 4 or 6 weeks in, when it started to click just a little bit, and I was like, okay, I'm like starting to feel a little bit maybe of what these guys are feeling, and I'm like starting to feel my body connecting the dots. Yeah. And I feel like that's still happening. It's probably going to keep happening, for years to come. But as you start to learn how to you start to shake the cobwebs off and get that feeling that the body's starting to settle into a rhythm and it starts to feel good. And that's kind of an amazing moment with it.
Yeah, that's cool. So it was awesome. The sprint, the sea of purple out there on the city fringe, near the big stadiums here in Melbourne, and it was really nice for me to participate and run it, and then we had our dress ups. So how'd you go with the dress ups, mate? And had a chat with Barry, did you?
Big Barry. Yeah, it was fun. It was real. It was real fun to just kind of I guess let some steam off at the end of the year and just let our hair down. Yeah. Barry let all his hair down.
Yeah.
And that was I don't know. It was a great sort of celebration. Great way to celebrate, especially after doing the sprints and doing the lifts and sort of doing all of that. Kind of celebrating the work that we do. Then just celebrating being together, and an opportunity for everyone to just bit of radical self-expression. Radical, maybe a little bit inebriated for some of us, self-expression. That was real fun.
Lose your inhibitions. That's cool. And you won an award this year, the Connection Wizard.
I did. Thanks.
Connection Wizard. He connected us with. It was mostly for help with us with online stuff, I think, the online courses that Aaron and I have been doing all year. So really helped us with the behind the scenes stuff and just sort of, we just did so many videos on who we are as well. That was instigated by you. You're actually in a few of them too to try and draw out Ninja story and the backstory of MMT and things like that. And how we got to this point we're at now. So it was really good that you had this intimate knowledge of MMT. You knew Aaron for years before you even came here, and you'd already done some work on your own at other businesses, so you kind of had some comparisons, so kind of knew if we were actually okay or not. And so that was really cool. I was really happy that you got that award, and well deserved. You're really helping us connect and get this work around the world. We've been through our first intake of the online course, the practitioner course, and it was just amazing for me to be able to be myself, be fully accepted, be authentic, and just helping people with their journey and help them be more effective with their treatments and their communication and all that kind of stuff that goes along with holistic bodywork. So it's been a big year.
It has. It's been amazing doing that work, and thank you guys. I really did appreciate that award at our session last week. Setting that stuff up was heaps of fun and really rewarding. It's been amazing watching you guys go through that cohort and see people over in the States, learning how to treat like the MMT way. But I definitely do feel for me that deep work that we did in that patch, that we really was focusing on who MMT is, who Aaron is, who Ninja is, who are you now and who do you want to become. That for me was maybe some of the most enjoyable work that we did, and it felt like that was in some ways maybe that was the foundation that we had to set to be able to really start putting that content out. as an opportunity. It's like that clarity in terms of like identity, you know, identity and direction and vision is often, for me, I think is sometimes in business people don't go there. They sit there trying to like focus on the practical stuff, which is cool and needs to be done. But if you can't get that, you don't have the identity and you don't have the vision clear, and this is what we talked about a lot, right? Clarity, you can't crystallize that vision, then you sort of just wiggle around like this. And it was like, that was an amazing little month there where we were doing lots of whiteboard sessions and lots of sort of visualizing things, and I feel like that's kind of, that was amazing to do, and it's really cool now that we're a few months down the track. I feel we're seeing what we've been able to achieve from getting some of that clarity. So that was some amazing stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to just finish off with a couple of quick fire questions, just two.
All right.
So me and you are going to run a workshop.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world. We've got no budget, is unlimited budget. Where are we going to go? Where would this destination be? Where would you like to?
Oh, well, I feel like with MMT, it's probably got to be over in the States, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's probably the next place to go. I feel like there's a lot of people in America over here on the watching us online.
Yeah.
So that might have to be the spot.
Yeah.
But whereabouts exactly? I'm not too sure.
Maybe Miami or
Yeah,
somewhere
that's what
where
I
the
was-
sun is. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say,
Yeah.
especially after chatting with Arnott during the course.
Yeah.
Somehow that could be pretty cool.
Yeah. And like 30 seconds or less, or how would you sum up MMT? How would you describe it? Or does it need a bit more time? You can take more time if you need.
I would sum up MMT. I'd actually sum it up by like reconnecting people with themselves and bringing them maybe in line a little bit more with like natural living. I think that's kind of really, really central to it. And in doing so, like helping people find like themselves and their potential. And it's like, it's kind of funny saying that because bodywork is such a humble thing, but it works in mysterious ways a little bit sometimes.
Magic there.
Yeah, because it's, I don't know, like it's connection through the connection with the bodyworker, and connection between two bodies, which becomes connection between two minds, which becomes connection with oneself and connection with one's environment. And so I think that's probably, I'm well past 30 seconds now, but I think it's in there somewhere.
Connection was a big word, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the source.
Yeah, that's it. But if I was going to give it one word, it would definitely be connection.
Yeah, sweet. All right. Anyway, man, thanks for the chat.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully got to know Scotty a little bit better, and you know the benefit of physical exertion and a practice in that, you know, because you've had really good practice in your meditation. How many 10-day silent retreats have you done? Like
I've been on organised retreat 4 times, and I go on retreat my own for at least a few days, sort of like 4 to 7 days on my own. Do that every year as well now. So spend a bit of fun. Spend a fair bit of time out there.
Yeah. So in the mind, if you can kind of do the body stuff as well, there's a better balance there, and you're a healthier vessel to kind of get into the higher realms as well, aren't you? So you don't have as many blocks.
Yeah. As I said to these guys, one of the things that I realised through my time here: strength, speed, stillness. They're 3 S's for me now. I used to only think about one, but if you cultivate all 3 of those in your body, I think you're gonna get places.
Yeah. Other things trickle on from it. So it's unreal.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All
Thanks,
right.
man.
Cheers, Ninj.
Thank you. Done.